Hey there guys, Jordan in the know here. So it's been about 1 year since the release of the original HTC One M7, and at this point you can get one for yourself for around $200 to $150 on eBay. And so I guess the real question is if it's even worth you purchasing it and worth being used as a daily driver. So let's get into it. Now, despite everything I've heard about HTC's attitude on how a phone should be, this is coming from someone who hasn't used the M7 or the M8 all too much. So, that being said, the construction of this phone, even after a year, is still better than most of the phones out there. Even though I know there's a lot of extra space inside the M7, its uncompromised structure makes it feel practically indestructible. There's absolutely no creaking, no bending, and really no weakness whatsoever. And it really looks good while doing it. Up front, you have your dual front-facing stereo speakers that sound amazing, and the LED notification light tucked inside one of the speaker holes, which gives it a really clean look. And sandwiched between those two speakers is the 4.7-inch LCD display that looks really crisp and gives you the perception of it having a bezel-less display, but no, the bezel's definitely there. And on the back, you're going to get more aluminum, which encloses the 2300 mAh battery, along with the 4 ultra-pixel camera. So after a year, the build has held up extremely well. This one looks like it hasn't been dropped, with only a few blemishes acquired over the 1 year period, and even though this phone has an awesome construction, one word that keeps coming to mind is cheap. Now, don't immediately criticize me yet, just hear me out. The phone doesn't feel cheap, but I feel like the components inside the phone just deteriorate. Starting with the capacitive buttons, mine are a lot dimmer than they were a year ago, and they even look on par with the brightness of the OnePlus One's capacitive buttons, which is notorious for not being very bright. Next on the list is battery life, and I tried my best to scour the internet to find some sort of solution for this problem, and there just doesn't really seem to be a fix. And to put it really simple, without sugarcoating it, the battery life is pretty bad. I watch about 20 minutes of YouTube before school, and throughout the day just casual browsing and web surfing, and by the time I get home, I end up with about 20% or less. Not to mention that when it gets to about 15%, it just dies immediately with no warning. And the crazy part is, I know the battery life used to be a lot better. Now, one last thing is the cracked camera lens. Now, as far as I'm concerned, there's been no intentional damage to the lens. And there have been a lot of reports claiming that this is a design flaw on both the M7 and the M8, so I'm going to mark it off as that. Now, even with those problems persisting, the phone is still actually a really great performer. Even though it has the dated Snapdragon 600 and 2 gigs of RAM, this phone can stay pretty busy without really slowing down. The battery, as we already said, was below average, and the display is still crisp in today's standards at 468 pixels per inch, and of course, those speakers are loud and beautiful. But one thing I really want to talk about in particular is the layered skin on top of Android 4.4. I personally like HTC skin better than what most companies have to offer, but the skin on the M7 is really strange. On the lock screen, they tried to duplicate some of those features you get on the M8, like swiping to the right to go straight into blink feed, and swiping into the left, which is supposed to do something, but I'm not really sure. But it just unlocks your phone instead, just like swiping up will, and it's kind of weird. There are other small features in Sense 6 that I like too, and that I really kind of appreciate, like being able to change the color of the accents and extreme battery saver mode, which wasn't in the original Sense 5 version. And then there are some things that I really don't like about the software. One of them being the vertically scrolling app drawer and the multitasking menu. Now, the thing about the app drawer is just personal preference, but the multitasking menu will probably be annoying to everyone. You get these panes which show a preview of the opened app, which is fine, but swiping the apps away, you have to wait for the animation to finish in order to close the next one, and it's kind of annoying. Now, the last thing that I always talk about in the videos is the camera. And I have to say that even though the lens is cracked, it doesn't seem to affect the quality of the photos. And for a 4 megapixel camera, photos will be properly focused, but definitely not as sharp as I would expect from a last-gen flagship phone. The photos are going to be okay, but don't expect to get anything amazing out of it. And even in low light, it can perform better than most camera phones. but with the drawback of awfully grainy photos and a purple tint to match. And that's my review on the HTC One. Even after a year, this phone can still suffice as a daily driver, as long as the poor battery life and below average camera quality doesn't bother you that much. Maybe I can flash cyanogen mod on it and we'll get some better results concerning the battery. But anyways guys, this has been Jordan in the Know. Thank you guys for watching my 1 year later review on the HTC One, and I hope to see you guys in the next one.